This KFAN podcast is sponsored by Builders and Remodelers, exclusive Twin Cities provider of Elements Windows. Get the highest quality windows at unmatchable value. Visit buildersandremodelers.com for more details.
Did you know using your browser in incognito mode doesn't actually protect your privacy? Take back your privacy with IPVanish VPN. Just one tap and all your data, passwords, communications, browsing history, and more will be instantly protected. IPVanish makes you virtually invisible online. Use IPVanish on all your devices, anytime you go online at home and especially on public Wi-Fi. Get IPVanish now for 70% off a yearly plan with this exclusive offer at ipvanish.com/audio.
Rock legend Daryl Hall is taking over the Minnesota State Fair Grandstand August 28th. Tickets are available now for this can't-miss show. Get all the details, KFAN.com, keyword calendar.
Into the penultimate 9 to noon for the Friday football and fastball feast. Jensen Lewis on the Minnesota Twins. Unprecedented trading spree yesterday. He'll be joining us very shortly. Alec Lewis from The Athletic is at Twin Cities Orthopedics Performance Center with the 9 to noon crew. A lot of Minnesota Vikings training camp and NFL training camp related conversations, and we will continue those coming up around the corner. Speaking of hot training camp action and hot talkers and things like that, Jensen Lewis will be joining us shortly, but like in Cleveland, well, you got the wet blanket that is Deshaun Watson. They lose this corner, Emerson Jr.
I liked him last year at joint practices. Did you see him?
Yes, I think he was going to start this year.
I liked him.
I mean, they're taking hits there left and right, but that's football. Here's baseball, and Jensen Lewis joins us now. J. Lou, it's Paul Allen along with Alec Lewis from The Athletic and producer Nordo. We're at the Minnesota Vikings practice facility with a football-related show called the Friday Football Feast, but it's been the Friday fastball feast today for a large portion of the show because of the day the Minnesota Twins had yesterday. Jensen Lewis, former pitcher in Major League Baseball, at JLou50 via the tweet machine. Follow him if you're so inclined. We welcome you to the show and the Friday Fastball Feast. How are you?
Buddy, great to be with you as always, and kind of that first day at school here for the Minnesota Twins, right? Everyone stands up, introduces themselves, where they're from, so kind of crazy to watch it all happen these last couple of days, no question about it.
Man, this is really cool that you're making time for us because I know you do a lot of national radio stuff with the Sirius XM family, and you guys focus on teams all around the league. When it comes to the approach taken by the Minnesota Twins at this trading deadline, how much of a national talker is it with like the big timers around Major League Baseball being like, "Wow, holy cow, I can't believe what they did"?
Yeah, I think a couple of things to unpack, PA, and the first one is the obvious finances that have surfaced and the amount of debt that the Pohlad family has, and where this potential sale of the club ends up going, and how all those mechanics work out, and that obviously has a cascading effect on roster construction, payroll, not only this year but in the near future. So I think that's a dynamic. Secondly, as I'm sure you guys know, the labor tensions are already at a pretty big high, and I'll be fully transparent, PA. I don't know if I've ever seen the temperature this high, this far out between the Players Association and the ownership and commissioner's office. When you have an incident like Bryce Harper and Commissioner Manfred coming face to face, that should tell you all you need to know about where the relations are. So that's another dynamic of it too. And then as it pertains to what the on-field product will look like this year, I think if you were to fully scuttle the ship, that would have meant that Joe Ryan ends up departing and you find a trade partner for him. But knowing kind of where the pricing was for starting pitching assets at the top of the realm, it wasn't surprising that a lot of the bigger names did not get moved. So a lot of clubs like to be able to go into an off season and have all 29 other organizations available in buying because everyone's 0-0. So it won't shock me if that's the last domino to fall potentially this off season, just knowing what he could potentially bring back.
Jensen, thanks for hopping on with us. You have a great last name. I want to ask, just does this fire sale, does it remind you of any point, any team at any time? Like, does it jog the memory for any other comparable?
Yeah, it does, and near and dear to my heart when I was a high schooler because the Indians, playing the Florida Marlins in '97, and it was always made that it was the World Series that Wayne Huizenga bought, and then the very next year it was a teardown. So it hurt us because we felt like that was a club as a fan base that really underachieved throughout the regular season and then found their stride in the second half and was kind of magical through the postseason. So it was a far cry from what they were in '95 as a 100-win team off the strike year in '94. But yeah, that was the first thing that came to mind was when you look at a team in Minnesota this year that, okay, was it the best iteration that they've had? No. But when you look at overall the standings, at least entering play today, our Cleveland Guardians here at one point were 4 or 5 games out and, put it together because the schedule was pretty favorable. Now they're 3 games out. I still don't think it's a playoff team by any stretch, but the way that the topography of the American League is just this year, I mean, you got the LA Angels that are buying at the deadline and saying, you know what, we're 3 games under. Let's give it a run. But I just think there's some prevailing headwinds, guys, of the financial issues, the kind of the dark cloud of the unknown ends up looking like with the team. And, that eventually is going to trump any on-field performance because you guys know it's a business. And unfortunately, those people that are making those decisions are going to look at the pocketbook more so than the on-field product.
Hey, Jensen, it's Nordo here. Quite the roundtable we have this morning. We appreciate you being part of it. The stress and the tension you mentioned between the league and the players, how much of it is associated with kind of the haves and the have-nots? And from a Minnesota Twins standpoint, you see it in Cleveland. We were talking about the Royals earlier. For a lot of markets in Major League Baseball, for them to get to the summit, every single thing has to go right. Well-run machines, these organizations here in the cornfields, as we like to call Minnesota. So when you're talking about tensions between the league and the players, I feel there's a haves and there's a have-not vibe where the Yankees aren't trading 10 guys at the deadline, if you know what I mean, in the midst of a bad season. There's some reloading. And in the case of the Twins and other markets like it, there's this rebuilding. It just feels like there's a lack of parity in some respects and a lack of an even playing field at times, too.
And Nordo, it's well played. I can completely understand from a certain point of view where, and I'll joke with you too, you guys call it the cornfield to flyover states, right? With Kansas City and St. Louis, even St. Louis kind of being a bigger market, if you will. Milwaukee has really shown you that they've been pretty resilient with, bottom third payroll in of their own right. Guys, if you look at it right now, just where current payrolls are, teams that have a chance to make the postseason, Cincinnati is 20th, Milwaukee is 21st, the Guardians are 25th, the Rays are 28th. And so what I've always argued from the player side and even now on the media side, guys, we live in a world where there are corporations that are transparent about their revenue and what they make and what they spend. And I know this is going to be slightly biased from the player side, but could you imagine what fan bases would react to? And the only team that has this is the Atlanta Braves because they're publicly traded. But if you look at where teams spend versus the money that they bring in, I think fan bases would be utterly shocked if these organizations were forced to be pretty transparent about the money they bring in versus the percentage of that's reinvested in not only the on-field product, but in bettering, the overall system at large. So that's always been a big argument on the player side. Conversely, when you look at, some of the luxury taxes here, there are only 8 teams that are technically in the penalty in this year, and it's Boston, Houston, San Diego, Toronto, Philly, the Yankees, the Mets, and the Dodgers. And, guess what, Nordo? You're right. Those are the halves because all those teams right now would be in position, to make the postseason. So, yes, do you have to spend money to make money? Sure. Do you have to spend money on talent to put a great product on the field? Absolutely. Is there an easy fix to that as far as, a salary floor, a salary cap? I don't know if we have an answer to that yet. I don't think it is as cut and dry as, an NFL model. The NBA is a headache and a half right now with the aprons and all of that jazz. The NHLPA is actually kind of hamstrung with the agreement that they have. They're kind of at the mercy of what the NHL wants to do. So I even kind of put that to the side. And then, as you guys well know, for many, many years, the MLBPA has been the strongest union in the entire world. So I don't know if there's an easy fix for it, but I do know that there are owners and minority owners that want to go out there and they want to spend money to put a great club on the field. And perhaps that's what's coming in Minnesota in this upcoming sale, and maybe even here in Cleveland when the Blitzers have an opportunity to assume a majority share of the Guardians as well.
Hey, J. Lou, and I apologize if I'm putting you on the spot here. I don't expect you to have a bevy of prospect-related names that the Twins got in all of these deals involving, maybe some of the more marquee names that were peddled, the likes of Carlos Correa, Willie Castro, and players like that. But is there any MLB-wide buzz, with any of these deals where it's like, wow, I can't believe the Jays parted with that prospect. Wow, I can't believe the Cubs parted with that prospect, and he's going to the Minnesota Twins.
I would start, with the Duran deal, honestly, PA. And when that deal came down, I think I even posted on my social media, I felt like it was win-win, for both sides. Philly addresses a need that they sorely had to with the Alvarado suspension and being unavailable for the postseason this year, but then also the team control, as you guys know, for Duran here the next couple of years. Tate is going to be awesome. I mean, I've watched enough video on him here in a short amount of time. It's legit power. If he doesn't end up being a catcher, he's going to be a corner guy. And then Mick Abel, as you guys know, can slot right in and probably will here in the near future at the top or at, near the top of the rotation. So I think right there, you have to feel very good about the comeback on basically a closer. When you look at Ryan Gallagher, that's someone in the Willie Castro deal and Hendry Mendez for Harrison Bader. Intriguing, a couple of top 20 prospects. I know Kendry Rojas, the lefty in the Louis Varland, Ty France deal, someone in the top 10. I would say, if you're looking at it, I feel like MLB.com already put it out there. I think you guys are right behind Oakland, or at least the Athletics, I should say, as far as the prospect haul. Now, guys, we've been watching this long enough that there's some of these guys are going to hit, some of these guys aren't. If they all do, where, it's a Washington National situation for the Soto trade and you get Gore and Abrams and, James Wood and Robert Hassel, I mean, that's shooting the moon here. But I think ultimately when we look at the constitution of this division, fellas, it's not, I don't think it's as Grand Canyon size a chasm as the standings will tell you between Detroit and Cleveland, Kansas City, and Minnesota. I still think there's plenty of holes there for Detroit, not only this year, but moving forward. So it kind of comes back to the organizational philosophy and what ownership's willing to do. If they're willing to go out and sign the extensions for young players and, be able to invest in the near and long-term future, that's a difference. And I'll leave you with this thought, guys. There's been a lot of rumors that Cleveland offered Stephen Kwan a contract extension, and Kwan's camp turned it down. Well, I'm kind of shocked that he's still on the roster here today. That if a guy's already turned down, whatever you're going to offer him, how do you come out and say, well, the respect for Kwan around the league is about as high as we have for him? We'll go pay the guy then. I mean, make him a part of your future. You have the most affordable superstar in Jose Ramirez that took the biggest discounted deal, arguably for his skill set and his production in the last decade. That's the kind of thing I look at where if you're in Minnesota, we know that Royce has been hurt a lot. Byron has as well, but you've got to build somewhere and you've got to show the outside world that you're willing to invest And so a part of me is really excited that you guys still have a Joe Ryan there, someone to build around. Simeon Woods Richardson's been, better. He's growing. Zebby Matthews, the guy that can grow. So if I'm a kid in St. Paul right now getting a shot here August 1st and through, I want to show that I belong and want to be a part of this long-term future.
J. Lou, you're absolutely fantastic. Joe Ryan, Gavin Williams tonight. Sounds like a humdinger. Make sure you enjoy it, and we text all the time, but we'll talk soon, okay?
You got it, boys. Enjoy, and I'm taking the points with you guys against the Browns in overseas. I'm not even going to worry about it. So that's a 10-point win on paper.
No, you won't be taking points. You'll be giving points.
Exactly. That's what I mean.
Yeah. All right. See you, bud.
To do it. There ain't no way we're being competitive for 4 quarters there for the Browns.
Well, didn't you read Shedeur the other day? 9 of 9, 2 touchdowns. Come on, man. Give Shedeur a chance. Let Shedeur cook.
I can go a perfect 7 for 7 with no defense there. So we'll see what happens.
Okay, well, I have access to the head coach. I can probably arrange that and make it ballyhooed and like some marketing thing if you want. But see, when you start saying things like, I can do that, and they unleash Myles Garrett on you, you might end the whole procedure with 9 fingers.
Yeah. That's why I said as long as there's no defense right now, yes, yeah. I can. As soon as you got someone coming at me, my mobility is not where it was when I was 23.
I appreciate you, buddy. See you later.
You got it. Thanks, guys.
Jensen Lewis on the Twins trading activity at JLou50 via the X machine.
Did you know using your browser in incognito mode doesn't actually protect your privacy? Take back your privacy with IPVanish VPN. Just one tap and all your data, passwords, communications, browsing history, and more will be instantly protected. IPVanish makes you virtually invisible online. Use IPVanish on all your devices, anytime you go online at home and especially on public Wi-Fi. Get IPVanish now for 70% off a yearly plan with this exclusive offer at ipvanish.com/audio.
Back after this.
Minneapolis, get ready. Music legend Paul McCartney is bringing his Got Back tour to U.S. Bank Stadium October 17th. Tickets are on sale now. One night, one icon. Don't miss it. Full details, KFAN.com. Keyword calendar.
Back to the Friday football feast. Alec Lewis has a story at The Athletic, and part of the headline is McCarthy's secret weapon for 2025 is center Ryan Kelly. For those who missed it, what's it about?
Yeah, just don't know if we've talked enough about how important Ryan Kelly is going to be for this offense, for JJ, and it's beyond the performance. I talked to, Matt Ryan, from the Falcons. I texted with Phillip Rivers. I talked to Andrew Luck a little bit about, Ryan Kelly. He's worked with.
Was Hendon Hooker not available?
Not after last night. He was not available. If you look at the number of quarterbacks that Ryan Kelly has worked with, it's jarring. It's so many. Nick Foles, Sam Ehlinger, just Anthony Richardson, Joe Flacco. It is a smorgasbord of quarterbacks, and in talking to them, and really it goes back, the first press conference Kevin O'Connell had before training camp, Kevin O'Connell said, you can't have a more valuable piece for JJ than Ryan Kelly, and that just stuck in my ear. So I wanted to talk to quarterbacks who work with Ryan about what he did for them and why he's going to be as important as he's going to be for JJ. And it's the cerebral, the ability to make the run identifications at the line of scrimmage. Sam Ehlinger said, you can almost turn your brain off at times pre-snap and just focus on pro-snap rotation and your reads and stuff like that. So just really feel like it's something here locally we're not going to talk a ton about, but if this Vikings team has the success that everyone here wants it to have, Ryan Kelly's going to be a key cog in that.
So how much even pre-snap can he take off of, do you think, JJ's plate? Specifically, maybe more so in the early stages, because Ryan Kelly is, we were talking about Rippon and Howell earlier. Well, Ryan Kelly's new to this. Ryan Kelly's learning, right? So, but taking things off of JJ's plate, and like you said, it's not just about keeping him upright, but the mental side of it is huge.
Absolutely. It's protection schemes, and part of the story for me was like the importance of the center position. It's just, we don't talk about it that often, but I said run identifications, which is like a very general term, but before every snap and every run, like the center has to declare, sometimes it's the quarterback, but the center declares who every player essentially is working towards off the line of scrimmage. So their declaration matters integrally in where that run goes and how it hits. So it's that, and then it's in pass protection. Who are we sliding to? Where is the running back looking? Like, it is like the hub of communication. Sam Ellinger said to me in the story, and I put this in the story, he's like, the center has to see everything the way the quarterback does, and oftentimes you just never hear about it or we never talk about it. And so to have a guy who, has experience as much as Ryan has, is crucial. But you said it, and Ryan has talked about this too. Learning this offense is an adjustment. It is longer verbiage play calls than he had in Indianapolis. It is just more canned plays at the line of scrimmage where you have to be cognizant of three different things depending on the defensive look. It's a lot. But if anybody as a veteran is going to pick it up well and quickly, it's going to be him.
If we go back in time a bit, if you remember into free agency, that Will Fries was one of those names. We were looking to go big in on guard. And PA hit it earlier this week nicely, is we're looking for all these big names. We got this cash to spend. Isaiah Rodgers. Huh? 250, like that's the first guy, and then you get to know him and you're like, oh, and now suddenly it could be the steal of free agency, hoping it is. Ryan Kelly was not necessarily on my radar in that moment earlier. So it's kind of like you kind of peel back the layers on this. We have our perception of things, wanted to get better on the line. I had always anticipated that Garrett would play out his contract and probably leave after that. But clearly I was wrong. It's like Ryan Kelly may be kind of under the covers a massive piece or a massive part of what KO wanted to accomplish.
Yeah, and there's the performance side of it, and that,
He's been pretty good.
Yeah, that shouldn't be lost and everything. But I'm with you. If you go back and read my stuff from that time, yeah, I mentioned the Will Fries. I mentioned the interior defensive lineman, potentially drafting an interior offensive lineman. You will never find, there's not going to be much you'll find of me writing that they're going to go target a veteran center. It just really, it just didn't, it's not something I really heard at the time. And so it was somewhat surprising when it happens. But again, to the point you just made, you peel back the layers on it, and it is one of those intentional moves underneath the umbrella of this entire very refined and thought out process to build around JJ the type of offense and the type of infrastructure that will allow him to take the steps on his time.
9 to noon wraps up the training camp portion of the program around the corner. Speaking of training camp radio, bumper to bumper with Dan Barrero and JG. They will be on the exclusive Vikings Radio Network perch at 3 o'clock today. Defensive tackle Harrison Phillips will be their featured guest. We had Javon Hargrave, also a defensive tackle, earlier 9 to noon. And once the show is complete and Double B does his thing, you can listen back to the podcast of that second segment, make that third segment chat with Javon Hargrave. Back after this.
Fantasy Football Training Camp is back at Treasure Island Resort and Casino. You can join Paul Charchian and the rest of the Fantasy Football Weekly crew on Friday, August 15th in the Full Deck Ballroom from 6 to 9 p.m. Enjoy elite fantasy football knowledge with your shot at a $1,000 grand prize. Free to get in, by the way. Full details now. KFAN.com, keyword calendar.
So at The Athletic and TheAthletic.com, Alec with his first of 3, 4, maybe 5 roster projections into the Bears game.
People like them.
They're fantastic. I started thinking of one yesterday, not even knowing that you had done this. Running backs Aaron Jones, Jordan Mason, Xavier Scott, and C.J. Ham. Out would be Ty Chandler and Trey Stewart. And again, with a right to change this multiple times. This is not etched in stone. With Mason and Jones, it's, and again, you watch more practice than me. every time I'm watching this thing, it looks like Mason is the number one back. It looks like is there, but also Aaron's the type they would take reps off during padded practice, right?
It's that, but it's also Jordan Mason in this system. Let's line up, make sure he knows what he's got, pass protection, route concepts. I mean, it's just getting, Aaron Jones knows the system. There's no gray area with Aaron Jones. With Jordan Mason, it's just more time, more comfort. Now, I mean, we could talk about running back share and stuff. From the get-go, for me, it's felt like Aaron Jones, probably 60-40. That just feels fair to me. You know how Kevin has done it in the past, where it's like a series will go to Aaron Jones, then they'll kind of shift in Jordan Mason for another series. I would say this year I'd expect a little more, okay, we're in the red zone. That might be a little more Jordan Mason territory, just given his success there. But I'll just tell you, like, people care a lot about this. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it's a fantasy thing. I'm never like they're going to use both of them. They're both dynamic.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It doesn't.
Well, they care a lot about roster projections because they're going to click on it. And I would assume at the website, when you put something out like this, a lot of people look at it.
Yeah.
Well, it's because they're going to look at it each time to see if there's something surprise cut. If there's some like, wow, he has this guy out at this stage of the equation.
Which would be a great example with Ty Chandler. I mean, not that that's the hottest, biggest name, but kind of the idea is somebody draft him. And at one point, the idea of him being that secondary option was massive. And now maybe he's on the outside.
Now, lastly, into a padded practice today, then through the night practice on Monday. Rodgers and Byron Murphy Jr. etched in stone if they're both healthy for a 1 and a 2, whichever way you want to look at it, right? Mm-hmm. Would you put McGlothern ahead of Jeff Okudah?
No.
Okay, no. But how far do you have Okudah ahead of McGlothern, and how close is Mackay?
I'd have Okudah over those two by a substantial margin at this point. Dwight McGlothern, 3 picks and 3 straight practices. I mean, you guys mess with me about the ball skills, but really, his ball skills show up every day he's out there. Like, he's always around the ball, and he was last year. He intercepted a pass last year in joint practices. But no, Okudah, for me, is pretty comfortable right now with Byron Murphy Jr., Isaiah Rodgers, Jeff Okudah.
Great job today, boys. Appreciate you.
Always fun.
Thank you.
Have a good weekend, okay?
You too.
For Alec Lewis from The Athletic and Eric Nordquist, along with Brett Blakemore, who guided the Great Chip Love Covenant today, I'm Paul Allen. The program is coming up around the corner at FM 100.3 KFAN. God bless all of you, and have good weekends. Bye.
Podcast today's Paul Allen Show, or listen back to previous show and interviews by going to the iHeartRadio app or KFAN.com.